To ask the Scottish Government what assessment it has made of the potential impact on workers in Scotland of an independent Scotland rejoining the European Union.
Cabinet Secretary Angus Robertson.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Scottish Government believes that the best future for Scotland is as an independent country, which is a member state of the European Union. We set out the multiple benefits that rejoining the EU as an independent country would bring to workers in the third paper of the Independence Prospectus, including greater mobility to work in any EU country, fairer labour market, better regulation and protection of workers' rights. We'll continue to build the case for a socially just, independent Scotland within the EU and give the people of Scotland the information that they need to make an informed choice about whether Scotland should become an independent country.
Claire Haughey.
The Cabinet Secretary will be aware of the recent findings by the Centre for European Reform, which predicts that the average worker will be £1,300 worse off as a result of Brexit. Despite Scotland voting overwhelmingly to remain, being forced out of the EU against our will is hitting workers hard in the pocket. Does the Cabinet Secretary agree with me that the Tories and Labour, for that matter, must answer as to why workers in Scotland are being forced to pay such a heavy price for their Brexit obsession?
Cabinet Secretary.
I wholeheartedly agree with Claire Haughey. The UK Government, and for that matter, with the support of the UK Labour Party, has imposed an unnecessarily hard Brexit, which is having a damaging impact on businesses and workers in Scotland and making the cost of living crisis so much harder to bear. The Office for Budget Responsibility expects that the UK's GDP will be 4% lower in the long run. That's the equivalent of around £100 billion in lost output, which will damage employment prospects for workers. This further demonstrates why securing independence and getting back into the EU, a market which by population is 7 times the size of the UK, is essential for the future well-being of people in Scotland.
And supplementary, Sharon Dowey.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Earlier this month, the President of the SNP and former Constitution Secretary, Mike Russell, told the Herald newspaper, and I quote, "I don't think independence can be secured right now." In light of that statement, why is the SNP government wasting time contemplating such hypothetical situations instead of focusing on the real and present priorities of the Scottish people?
Cabinet Secretary.
It shouldn't come as a surprise to Sharon Dowey. In fact, it shouldn't come to a surprise to any members on the Conservative benches, having lost the last Scottish Parliament election, that the parties that won the election were elected on a manifesto to hold a democratic referendum in Scotland. Now, there is no technical reason why the UK government cannot transfer the responsibilities to have a referendum. It is, after all, the policy favoured by the majority of MSPs in this Parliament. So it would be entirely incorrect and false for this government to not make the necessary preparations. We want the people to be as informed as possible, and I would hope that Democrats would all agree that if a government is elected to do something, it should be able to get on with it.
And supplementary, Willie Rennie.
I think I must be getting a bit deaf in my old age, but I didn't hear the Minister set out what the impact of leaving the UK internal market would be on those very same workers. Why is he embracing the obvious benefits of the European Union, but ignoring the problems caused by the break-up of the United Kingdom?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, all I can say to Willie Rennie, there's nobody on these benches who is a tectonic separatist. We're in favour of the best possible trading relations across these islands, but we also want to be part of the biggest single market in the world, which is the European Union single market. I'm not one of those, perhaps he is, who is pleading for Scotland to remain dependent on a single market the size of the United Kingdom. Why not embrace the credible historic European support of the Liberal Democrats for the European idea and join us on these benches by seeking our place within the European single market?